Alright guys, welcome to the 5th episode of the Hunter Guide series. Today's video will be about base Baek. But before we get into it, as always, if you enjoy my content, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. I would greatly appreciate that as I'm trying to get to 1k subs before the end of April. So yeah, thank you guys a lot and let's get into it. So base Baek or light Baek, not sure how people are gonna call him, but he's kind of in a weird spot where he's a very good breaker, and that's where he shines the best, right? Being a breaker in gates and bosses, anything, right? Just very good breaker. But at the same time, he kind of has to fill the shoes of being the light DPS on the game, right? Because obviously the other light unit is a healer, so it doesn't work, and we're still waiting for Cha to come out. So he kind of has to fill that shoes too, and it's kind of weird. Like on the spider, you have to use him as your main DPS, most likely, unless you have a big Choi. I feel like this is like kind of a weird spot for Baek, and I feel like he's gonna be better once a real light DPS is gonna come out. Let's check the kit, and I'll tell you more about that later. So Baek, just like Emma that I presented to you guys yesterday, has break on every skill except the ult, so that's one thing about him, right? He scales off defense, so that's another thing you have to be aware of whenever you go for his artifacts. We'll see that later on. Basic attack, nothing crazy, just light break, right? Core attack, again, just light break, good damage though. His skills do quite a lot of damage, if I'm being honest, for like skills. Like if you compare it to some other characters. And the first one has medium break, the second one has heavy break. It consumes a lot of MP though, and the cooldown is kind of big, at least for the second one. So that's one thing to be aware of. His support skill is a debuff as well as being a break damage thing. So medium break and then a 20% defense decrease debuff for 10 seconds. So it's not bad to have, but it's not crazy good. Like I think there's better support skills. And for the QT skill, medium break, just damage, pretty good damage as well. And for the ult is pretty cool though. The ult also decreases the defense. So we'll see that later in the passive, right? But you can have his ult instantly. So there's pretty good thing to do with Baek and all that and that synergy. And it also deals violent explosion damage equals to 400% of the defense. Overall, a pretty good kit, pretty fast to break enemies, like I said in the intro. So base Baek works a lot around debuffs, especially defense decrease. The white flame effect is applied to the last hit of all skills, excluding the basic attacks. So it works with basic skills and then the QT skill, right? So whenever you launch it, whenever you use it, right, the last hit of each skill will apply a white flame debuff. Whenever you have 3 stacks of that debuff, it activates Violent Explosion, dealing damage equal to 400 of the user's defense, right, and applying a defense decrease to the target, 20% for 10 seconds, right? That's the main thing about Baek, right? He breaks and then he puts debuffs too. He's pretty cool to be in the rotation. Like let's say you have Choi and then Emma, for example. You start the fight with Emma, you clear the waves, you get to the boss, you break with Baek, you switch to Choi. There's defense decrease, the boss is broken as well. He does decent damage too, honestly. Increase the damage of White Flame Gale Kicked by 150%. I believe it's the second skill. Yeah, exactly. Second skill. So more damage on the second skill. The second skill hits hard, honestly. Increase the user's break effectiveness by 20%, so easier to break, right? When bottomless, sorry, pit is used, applies the white flame unlocked effect. White flame unlocked is increase the user's light damage by 30% for 15 seconds. Bottomless pit, I believe, is the QT skill, right? Yeah, so whenever you use this QT skill, you get a 30% light attack of damage, right? Fourth is increase the user's critical hit rate by 8%. I am not sure if Baek is that good of like a crit user, but at the same time you want crit on every unit except Choi. I guess it's fine. Maybe defense or light damage would have been better, but we'll take it. Fifth one, I was talking about that in the intro, I believe. When the user enters the stage, recovers power gauge by 100% and increase the damage of Violent Explosion by 80%. So Violent Explosion goes up by 80%, so it's not 400, it's 480. And you get your power gauge at 100%, so it means you're getting ult at the start of the fight. Right, so it's pretty cool if you, let's say, like I said earlier, clear waves with Emma, keep your ult with Baek, obviously, and then you switch to Baek, you do all 3 of your skills. So you switch in with the QT, you do this one and then this one, you put the first defense down, right? You break the boss, and then you ult, and then you switch to Choi, big damage. I like a lot, I like Baek a lot, sorry, in this scenario where you kind of use him as a switch in, do all your skills, then switch out for more damage with your DPS. That's why I'm saying he's kind of in a weird spot where he's not a DPS, but in some cases you kind of have to use him as the DPS, and it's kind of weird. For the weapons, his exclusive weapon increases the user's light damage by 4%, and then when attacking at a target with white flame effect on, increases the user's defense by 5% for 20 seconds. Whenever you attack someone that has white flame, you increase your defense, so you deal more damage since he scales off defense, and then you increase also your light damages. The alternative I would use to Baek would be this one, so it gives more defense and then increases the damage, damage taken from boss monsters by 12%. Because I kid you not, Baek scales off defense, but is one of the squishiest hunters I've seen in a minute. He dies so fast. I don't understand why. And otherwise, I guess you could run this sword for extra elemental weakness. And I would assume you could run the book, more power gauge acquisition. If you don't have him A5, I guess it's not bad. But yeah, I think I would use that just so he doesn't die instantly. Because whenever you use his skills too, his skills take a lot of time to be casted, if that makes sense. Like there's a big animation, right? So it takes a lot of time for it to be finished, so you get hit while doing it most likely, and it's kind of weird. That's also one of the reasons I don't use Baek much, because his skills are weird. Outside of that, nothing too crazy about weapons, I feel like, and I'll show you the build now. So for the build, you probably kind of guessed before I even showed it to you, because I've said it to you, he's a breaker, so obviously solid analysis, breaker set, best breaker set by far. Uses damage dealt to enemies in the break state increases by 15%. That one is good, but not crazy good. The second one though, very good. When attacking enemies that have elemental weakness, the break effect increases by 30%. There's a lot of light bosses, light gates and all that, so he's pretty useful for that. He's great for the spider because of that, because he breaks her super fast. Obviously for the jewelry, I would run concentration of firepower just to be able to use his skills more often. As I told you, the cooldown is kind of annoying on them, and yeah, overall the MP is not a real problem, so more damage, less cooldowns. Alternatives you could run if you were to go on a full-on DPS bike, I guess toughness would be a thing, but honestly I don't see it. Like, don't do it. I'm telling you, it's possible, but don't do it. Same as one hit kill, I guess it's doable, but it's not crazy, so don't do it. Honestly, just break set. I don't think there's anything else better. Just for the jewelry, I guess you could run that one to be more of a support, but here again, I'm not sure if it's that good. And then I guess the usual skeleton or executioner if you want. There's not much other sets you could run on him, just this is very good. This works very well too. For these substats, overall you want additional defense, critical hit rate, obviously, additional MP, it's not bad. You want obviously defense percentage, damage increase is decent too. Other than that, I don't think there's anything crazy. So yeah, the two defense stats, critical hit rate, damage increase, I guess defense penetration or additional MP, something like that for the last one. For the boots, you would want defense percentage as the main stat, not death pen like me. I don't have crazy gear on him. And for the jewelry, well, obviously you can't get critical hit rate. You want to get critical hit damage. On the bracelet, light damage, obviously. And outside of that, nothing too crazy. Let's check the skill upgrade now. So for the skills you should upgrade first, I would go with basic skills and ult. And probably QT skill after. Like any basic hunter, I would say. Just go for basic skills, ult, QT skill. That's the fourth thing you're gonna use the most. If you're not on a hunter that you keep using, like you don't just throw him away once you used all his skills, like you do with 90% of the hunters, basic attacks is not that important. Support skill is just damage. It doesn't change the effect or anything. So yeah, overall just basic skills, ult. Alright, so I wanted to do it against the spider, right, to show how much it breaks fast with them. but I couldn't because I don't have any keys left. I can't even refill it since I'm capped here as well. I bought everything. One thing I didn't mention reading his skills is that the white flame debuff can be put by the core attack. Let me show you here. Core attack. At the end of the core attack, you put one more flame. So I don't think I've mentioned that. So that's one thing to be aware of. Another thing I didn't mention, I believe, is that the debuff put by the ult is the same as the one put by white flame. So let's say you have the one from white flame activated, right? And then you start to wait until it wears off, and then you ult, right? It just resets it, right? It just resets the cooldown because it's the same one. So that's one thing to know. You can't stack it like you can with Choi, because Choi has two defense downs. It's not the same, so you can stack them. But if it's the same percentage, same duration, you can't stack it. Usually you wouldn't be playing Baek like that, like just spamming his skills. You would be switching to someone else, just like that. So you would put his debuff, switch to someone else, deal damage, go back to him, deal more damage, put another debuff, and then switch to someone else, and then finish the fight, right? Like, he's not someone you use to like keep, you don't keep him like that and just smash the boss. Like, it's not how it works. He's not a DPS like I told you. He kind of has to fill in that role, but it's not his role, realistically. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, like and subscribe like I said in the intro. I'm trying to reach 1K subs before the end of April. As always, take care. I'll see you in my next one. See ya.